I want to interject here and talk to you a bit about ferberizing. Many of you who understand the parental system of ferberizing will know that it's this concept, basically, that babies from the very beginning learn that they can manipulate. We're not talking 6 or 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. We're talking babies that come into this world and from the very beginning learn that if they cry and you come, then they can manipulate you. The ferberizing concept, as far as source perspective is concerned, is the most damaging thing which has been created in terms of parenting. Before the age of about 1, children only cry because of one thing. They have a need. And if you do not meet that need, whether it's to be coddled, whether it's to be fed, whether it's to be changed, you are literally undercutting the trust system between you and your child. Ferberizing your child is the worst thing you can do for a child's trust on this planet. As a parent, it will become easier and easier for you to see the difference between a child crying out of need, which it can't meet itself, and a child which is crying out of manipulation. It's a totally different energy, and you need to trust yourselves enough to know that difference. As a parent, you know the difference. We are incredibly underdeveloped when we come into this world. The nature of being a human being makes it so that infants can't even fit through the birth canal if they come out totally developed like we do and like most animals do. That's why when we come out, we're, for lack of a better word, 3 months underdeveloped. So we literally are incapable of meeting our own needs until we're about 3 months old. And even then, as you know, if you've raised a child, there's a whole lot more needs which they can't meet themselves. Don't become a doormat or a dictator to your child. What you want to do is become a guide. The person who rescues their child from everything and the person who orders them to conform both strip the child of their self-concept and both make their children feel powerless. And as you know, I talk quite a bit about the fact that powerlessness is the #1 problem to our society today. It is the reason for all of our interpersonal, personal, and world conflicts which we have going on today. And then we come to what I think is the last point, and one of the best points of don'ts when it comes to your children. Don't feed them unuseful beliefs. One of the most amazing gifts of having a child is the fact that you have to examine your own limiting and beneficial beliefs. You can't teach a child to believe something that you don't believe. But if you want your child to believe that they can do something, you cannot tell them that they can't. If you keep reinforcing you can't do this, you can't do that, you are setting up the belief system in them, I can't. We are laying the foundations for the belief of our children into their adulthood. And so you should only be giving them beliefs which are useful. And here's the crux. For you to give them a belief which is useful, you have to give them a belief which you firmly believe. You can't tell them one belief and then demonstrate an entirely other thing. Like, you create your own abundance. Meanwhile, your mother and father, us, are going to demonstrate what it looks like to think that money doesn't grow on trees. You have a gift here with your children. When you're spouting out of your mouth unuseful beliefs, you get to examine them. And when you examine them and discover that they're unuseful, you get to redo them and change them. Belief and desire must line up in the exact vibration for manifestation to occur. So it's not enough to culture desires in children, but not culture beliefs. You have to culture desires and then help them believe in line with those desires in order to help them become the manifestors of their own life. And since I like ending on happy notes, here's my list of do's. The most important thing you can do for your child is to build a healthy, strong self-concept to help them build that concept. Number 1, let them think. So often when kids get themselves into situations, we tell them what they should think instead of let them think for themselves. So let's pretend that your son or your daughter wants to go to school in slippers. You may just say, "That's a bad idea, go put your other shoes on." That's stripping them of the ability to think through it. So you could play a game more like, "Well, do you think your slippers are going to work at recess time?" And let them think about it. If they say yes, slippers are going to work at recess time, then you've got to allow yourself to let go of it and let them go experience why slippers don't work at recess time. But more likely, your child's going to sit there for a minute and decide to change their shoes because you've let them think about the outcome of the choice to wear slippers to school. Take every opportunity you can to help them think for themselves. That is going to set them up for successful adulthood. 2, let them learn from their choices, both the good ones and the bad ones. There are no bad choices. There are no failures. Because successful people turn their bad choices and their failures into wisdom, so we cannot make an enemy of bad choices. 3, let them solve their own problems. We can help them do that by giving suggestions, but we need to leave it in their camp so as to empower them, to let them understand that they have the power to solve their own conflicts. This will help them build an incredibly strong self-concept. This will help them to understand their own power and to help them feel free. 4, offer them empathy and understanding instead of lecturing and "I told you so's." Children are meant to learn from the consequences of their own actions, not from your lecturing. It is natural to rebel against something which is pushing negative energy towards you. So when they have bad choices, when they make bad decisions, when they have what you would see as a failure traditionally, if you offer them empathy and understanding for that decision they make, suddenly you're an ally. You're an ally and the enemy is the bad choice instead of you. 5, let them make choices. This is incredibly important for your toddlers because they already don't feel like they have a lot of freedom and they want it. They're in that stage, basically. Same with teenagers. They're in that stage where it's all about trying to foster their own independence. It's all about their selves versus you because it's the first time they can really conceptualize of themselves as a single unit. So if you allow them to make choices within the parameters of what you yourself think is acceptable, it will help them feel freedom. For example, you may have to leave the park at some moment during the day if you've gone to the park. You have this very valuable opportunity. You could look at your child and say, "Do you want to leave now or do you want to leave in 2 minutes?" The child, of course, will pick 2 minutes. What you've just done is give them freedom within the parameters of something that you can live with. So you're going to live as a happy parent, and it's going to be a limit which is safe for them. Allow them to make a ton of mistakes. This is incredibly important because, like I said, we only ever really learn by actually experiencing things ourselves. It's not enough to just take your word for it. And when you let them make a ton of mistakes when they're little, the price tag is super, super small compared to making a lot of mistakes in their teenagehood. When they're small, making a mistake like running their tricycle into something means a skinned knee. When they're older, learning from the consequences of their action and making mistakes, if they haven't been allowed to do so before, means getting in their car when they're 16 and crashing into the side of the highway and potentially ending up dead. It's difficult to watch as a parent. I understand that. When you're watching a child and you know that they're about to go get hurt, not destroyed, obviously you should save your children from situations if it looks like their life is on the line. But when it doesn't look like that, it's difficult to sit back and let them make the mistake, even if it means a skinned knee. But that right there is what separates your child from, right now in their successful adulthood, from children who grow up to be adults who make tons and tons of mistakes with huge price tags later. 7. Use only enforceable statements. What I mean by an enforceable statement is, you have no control over your child's actions. It's true when they're younger that you can pick them up and control where they are physically within the world, but ultimately you have no control over another person. The only thing you have control over is you. And so, let's say that a child says, "I don't want to brush my teeth, I don't want to brush my teeth." Looking at them and saying, "Brush your teeth," is not going to work. That is something which is completely out of your control. But you can control yourself, meaning you can tell the child, oh, that's so sad because mommy or daddy only reads books to babies who brush their teeth. Then you've put the decision and the ball back in their court. And you've used an enforceable statement which you can then follow through on, which has nothing to do with controlling their behavior. You will have an incredibly irresponsible and very rebellious child if you use unenforceable statements, because they'll learn pretty quickly, I don't actually have to do anything that you say, because you can't actually control me. So, you want to make them aware of the fact that while you don't control them, you do control you.